Our politics lead now. An alarming new report from the Washington Post reveals a 17-page draft executive order circulating in which the White House claims China interfered in the 2020 election. Now, we all know the president has his theories and grievances, but this is significant to today, because President Trump could then use that claim as a basis to declare a national emergency, which then theoretically could open the door for him to exert extraordinary presidential power over the voting process in this year's midterm elections. Washington Post senior White House reporter Isaac Arsdorf joins the panel. He broke the story. So, Isaac, tell us what your sources have told you.
So I want to be really clear. This is not an official White House draft. This is not a document that comes from the White House. This is a proposal that's being shared with the White House. When we know that Trump has said on social media he wants to do an executive order to mandate no mail ballots and voter ID even without an act of Congress. How's he going to do that? Well, he says he's about to present a new legal theory that's never been tested before. And there's a lawyer who has worked with him in the past, knows him since high school, representing Tina Peters, who viewers remember, the Colorado election clerk. And this lawyer has this proposal, as you described, that if the administration can present evidence of foreign interference, that could be the basis for a national emergency that would unlock the president to exercise these powers that they acknowledge ordinarily he doesn't have. Those are powers over election that belong to Congress or the states.
Would he have to present this evidence? Because we know that the president's definition of evidence is quite different than that, at least in 2020, as defined by courts and election boards and governors, even Republicans. Would he have to present this evidence to some sort of reputable arbiter?
Well, presumably, I've heard from a number of organizations today since I published this article that they would challenge this in court. And then you would see, like with previous executive orders, looking at some of the rationale that they've used for expedited deportations. The judge would be in the position of reviewing, is the argument they're making about an invasion force from Venezuela describing Tren de Aragua, do we buy that or not? Is that a valid, but it would go to litigation.
What kind of powers would this unlock theoretically if he does this declaration?
Well, I mean, this isn't like spelled out in a statute or anything, but according to an early version of the draft that I saw, it would just order that everyone's got to re-register.
Re-register.
Everyone's got to re-register. You got to start over with voter registration.
200 million people or whatever.
You've got to show proof of citizenship, and you can only vote with hand-marked paper ballots, and you can only use an absentee ballot in very limited circumstances.
Sure, Michael, your response?
I mean, look, there are a lot of people who are going to make claims of having good, strong, robust relationships with the White House and with the president himself. We've seen these types of reportings in the past. And good job by Isaac, by the way. When I first read this story, I couldn't quite believe it. So I reached out to people to just ask, like, hey, is this legitimate? And one response I got was, well, if you find the person who this guy is allegedly talking to, let us know too. The White House is principally focused on maintaining the House this November. They're principally focused on the economy, bringing jobs back to the American people, not these kooky-mongy, crazy stories by some random attorney who is trying to assert something. And it should be known, again, this is not officially from the White House.
Right.
Many people propose a lot of crazy ideas. It does not mean the White House is going to enact on it. And by the way, the constitutional authority isn't there. And Republicans, I believe, wouldn't support this because they want to talk about the kitchen table issues that most Americans care about.
Karen?
Oh, sure, Michael. Your Republicans may not want to, but Donald Trump will take anything he can. Remember in 2020 when people were putting out all kinds of crazy legal theories, many of which made their way to the courts, all of which failed. I'm thinking of a press conference where you had a Rudy Giuliani with,
Four Seasons Landscape.
Right?
In that great city of Philadelphia.
Exactly, that wonderful city in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So, look, but we know there's too much of a pattern where some of these things that the rest of us think, well, this is absolutely crazy, kind of somehow circulates. And given the way that people know that the way to curry favor with Trump is to give him what he wants, he's made it very clear over the last several weeks that he wants to nationalize or somehow control the 2026 elections because he wants to hold on to power. So I'm not surprised that you're hearing from organizations, because from what I'm hearing from Democrats, particularly our civil rights organizations and voting rights organizations, people are taking this all very seriously and being prepared because we don't know what this guy's going to try to do.
What did the White House say when you reached out to them for your story?
They said that the president is committed to passing the SAVE Act.
Which,
the-
by the way, there aren't necessarily the votes for the SAVE Act, right?
Well, they would have to change the rules in the Senate, which
Right.
Senate Republicans have said they're not going to do. So the official line from the White House we keep hearing is the president wants the SAVE Act, which he says, but he also says very clearly, if they don't pass the SAVE Act, I'm going to do it anyway. And this is a proposal that has reached the White House about how he could do it anyway.
And what other kind of feedback did you get for your story?
Well, I mean, Michael is absolutely right. There are definitely people in the White House who do not want to see this happen, do not think it will work. But we've seen a situation before where Donald Trump has door number one, a lawyer who says, that's not going to work, you can't do this. And door number two, a different lawyer who says, here's how you can make it work. And which door does he choose?
Yeah, we have seen that movie before. Thank you so much. Great reporting, Michael Karen. Thank you so much. 40 years after the horrors of the Chernobyl nuclear meltdown, a new CNN series is digging into the full story, from a KGB cover-up to the war in Ukraine. That story's next.